My name's Evette Levy. Over 5 years ago, I had an accident at work. That accident resulted in me having a below knee amputation. On the day of my accident, I got took into hospital. The first few days were quite nerve-wracking because I didn't know what my injuries actually were. 2 days after my accident, they took me in for investigative surgery, and that's where they turned round and said that I was definitely going to be a right below knee amputee. They weren't quite sure what was going to happen to my left leg because that had been severely damaged as well. They did say that they thought they could save it, but they weren't sure. The days after the surgery were very daunting because I didn't know how my left leg was going to heal. I didn't know what surgeries I would need beyond then. They said they thought they'd saved it, but they weren't quite sure. So obviously the first week in hospital was very much just trying to get my strength back, trying to get myself into a position where I could start think about rehabbing and getting back to where I were. So I'm quite a driven person, and I found that my determination to get back to where I was my big driving force. I've always been somebody who's quite stubborn. I've always been somebody who loves the outdoors. I love my animals, I love my horse riding, I love my dog walking. It came pretty obvious that I didn't have the things that I needed to go back to how I was. So at the start, my worries were all to do with, would I have a job, would I have money, would I have my life back? Would I get back to walking and things like that? I spoke to stewards and they managed to get the ball rolling.
Evette, her lifestyle is incredibly active. It was very clear from the beginning that we had to get interim payments for her to fund a range of prosthetics that would help her continue the life that she had. She lives in a rural environment where the ground is very uneven, so it was really crucial that she had really well-fitting, supportive prosthetics.
Access to funding early on really kick-started getting back to myself. It was all necessary so that I could start learning to walk again.
It was very clear to me early on the emotional attachment that Evette had to her home. She was very much part of the community. All of her friends lived around here. She was living in her home next door to her father. It was split into 2 properties. So it was really, really crucial that we kept her in the area more than anything. We didn't want, after everything else that had happened to her, for her then to have to move out and live somewhere where she didn't have that support network, which is so important. Quite interesting with the work undertaken to Evette's home, because there were a number of things that we had to make sure she had because of her injury. For example, she needed or needs a 3-floor lift, and it was quite a challenge to the architects in this case to be able to put that into the building without changing the layout too much and also keeping to its original foundations. Evette is an incredibly independent person. It was very, very important to her for her to have access to the upstairs through a staircase, but obviously there's times when prosthetic users are unable to use their limb in periods of illness, so that lift was really, really crucial to ensure that she's always got access to her home.
I had a physio team come in and see what things they could do around the house for me to help. I got a wet room that is the best wet room in the world without looking like it's for a disabled person, and that meant a lot to me. I wanted to retain the charm and I wanted to stay here, and with all the help and support I got, I managed to do that, and it's the best thing that I could have wished for. I have a dog called Arthur. that I got, probably stupidly, but I decided that I'd always had dogs, and part of my recovery process was to get back to where I was. Arthur is the reason that I probably do as well as I do. So Arthur doesn't care if I'm sore. Arthur doesn't care if my leg's a bit stiff or I'm aching or I can't be bothered or it's raining. He wants his 5 walks a day. So Arthur's been a really big part of my recovery and my treatment and getting back to where I was.
Evette was really concerned when we were nearing settlement in her case, particularly as to whether she would have enough to look after her for the rest of her life. And so to help to ease her concerns, we met frequently to talk through financially how it would work for her, to give her the confidence that the settlement that we were going to reach would be appropriate for her for the rest of her life.
My experience with Stuart's has been something like I never expected. It wasn't me and a solicitor, and it wasn't a partnership, it was more like a friendship. It was from start to finish, I knew that I could pick up the phone at any point. I knew that if anything couldn't be answered there and then, it would be. I could ask anything and not feel stupid. Having never gone through this process and not knowing the ins and outs, I was never made to feel like what I was asking wasn't worthy. And I felt so relaxed and I felt I was in safe hands.
Every client is unique, and as a solicitor, it's incredibly humbling to see the courage and determination that someone shows when their life has been turned upside down. I feel proud that the team at Stuart's are able to help clients like Evette at such a difficult time.
I can't thank Stuart's enough. They've helped with every aspect of my life to get me through rehab, living in a building that I love, that will see me through the rest of my days. I don't have to worry about having to move. I can stop here because of all the things that, you know, the house has been put in that will just get me forever. I can live in the home that I love, doing the things that I love.